It is 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Are we rolling?
Yep.
All right. So this is the regular city council meeting for Minnetrista of June 16th, 2025. And first order of business, I'd like to remind everybody to turn your phones on silent. But Gary, but keep the weather update up. Don't put yours on silent, Gary. Anyhow, so we're currently it's very inclement weather, and we're watching the satellite to make sure if we need to quickly adjourn, we can do that. Anyhow, with that, please join me in Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I'm going to start out before we approve the agenda. I just want to say a few words. You're all familiar with the events that unfolded over the weekend, and I would like to just say on my behalf, and I'm sure on the entire council's behalf and staff's behalf, that we send our condolences and our love and prayers to those families, the Hortmans and the Hoffmans, that were affected by this very cruel, very, very cruel and criminal act. It's just kind of incomprehensible. And I do know that Melissa Hortman was a dedicated servant. Even though if you're a Republican or Democrat, it doesn't really matter. I think we need to recognize anybody that serves their community, especially in the fashion that she did. And also, this isn't this isn't about Democrats or Republicans. This is about right and wrong. And it was definitely a very, very heinous crime, a very wrong crime. So our sympathies and our condolences and our thoughts and prayers go out to the Hartman and the Hoffman family. We hope that the Hoffmans will fully recover very shortly. And of course, we appreciate the law enforcement that was on this, and they have apprehended the criminal, apparent criminal, I guess, but still. And so we're very grateful for their involvement. It was a very a collaboration between many different agencies. So with that, I'm going to then ask for approval of our agenda.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there any?
Second.
I just have one thing I forgot to add. I have a special presentation, if we could, if that's okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. With that then, a motion to approve with that minor adjustment to approve the agenda with that minor adjustment. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes 4-0. So I'm going to start out with a special presentation. Hold on. Not reaching for my foot. All right. So as you all know, this is Allie Paulfus's last meeting, and she's been here for a few years. I just want to say, you know, Allie came to us in 2020 during the pandemic, and I know Kathleen, you were here, and I was here, and we didn't even meet Allie for quite a few months. And we just spoke with her over the phone, and we communicated in other fashions, but it took quite a while before we actually met her in person. But since her arrival here, I can say it's just been absolutely fantastic having you on board and part of our team. You've done a fabulous job, and I know I probably have worked a little closer with you than some of the others, but I have appreciated your prompt response to everything. I'm just amazed. It's like I ask for something and 5 minutes later it's done. So I just wish you, and I know the rest of the council wishes you the very, very best in your next endeavor. And I know you will be very successful in that one. I know the opportunity was something you couldn't pass up. So thank you. But I do have this certificate, and why don't you come here and they can take a picture?
They would have dressed nicer.
So
This is just a certificate of appreciation that you can hang in your new office,
Yeah.
Breezy Point, to remind you of us, so you don't forget us. And hopefully we've appreciated you.
Yes.
Go right over here, then I can.
We can do this. Yes, yes. Agreed.
All right, perfect. 2, 3.
Oh, thank you. So nice.
Don't ever leave. You're
Oh, I'm sure thank you. Who's gonna post it?
I need the Facebook account password. Yeah, right. Or do it tomorrow. You best
You'll have to do it. Thanks, guys. That was nice.
And thank you for your dedication. We appreciate it. We don't have anybody here this evening, under persons to be heard. We don't have anybody here, period, except our staff and officers. But with that, we have consent agenda items. Are there any you wish to remove? If not, then we have consent agenda items number A, which is approve our work session meeting minutes. B is approve our city council regular meeting minutes from, let's see, I don't have the date on here, but it's from June 2nd, 2025. And then we have C is approve our temporary liquor license for the Northwest Tonka Lions. D is approve the Bayside Lane retaining wall license and maintenance agreement. E is approve A2S task order number 16 for optimized corrosion and control treatment plan. And then F is approve our claims. G is award equipment CIP purchase of truck number 1 replacement. And then we have another one, a resolution number 60-25, and again, award equipment CIP purchase for truck number 7 replacement. And I is a resolution to award equipment CIP purchase for truck number 9 replacement. And I is a resolution for reapprove and award equipment CIP purchase for the skid loader. Any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve consent agenda items A through J? Thank you, Ms. Lacy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Govern. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Next, we don't have any public hearings, so we'll move on to our business items. And this is the water treatment plant, approve plans and specifications, and authorize advertisement for bids. So I'll hand that over to Jasper.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of City Council. I think this is probably close to the 10th or 11th time that we've talked about the water treatment plant, which is good. It's one of the largest expenditures I think we've ever seen as a community. So what we're looking for today, the plans and specs are not in here. If you're interested in seeing them, we have 90% plans and specs. They're literally hundreds of pages. So if you really want to get into it, you definitely can. But what we're asking tonight is to approve those plans and specifications and then authorize us to go out for bid. So again, I'll just summarize the plant itself. It's a 2,100 gallon per minute plant. There's a 700,000 gallon clear well. That's storage that's going to be underneath the plant potentially. It's located out in the Woodland Cove neighborhood. I think everybody knows where it's at. So a little bit about the timeline. If approved tonight, we would start advertising July 8th. We'd open bids on August 7th. City Council would consider award on August 18th. Notice to proceed on the project to the apparent low bidder would be in September 15th, and then construction would likely start in October. And then it would commence in October and then go until the final completion date of May 2nd, 2028. And that's important because that's right before the summer and the summer demand hits. There are some additional approvals that are required that are part of this process with Department of Labor and Industry, Department of Health, Minnehaha Creek Watershed District, and the Met Council. So the estimated cost for this project right now, engineer's estimate is $20 million. There's a contingency likely in there too of about $500,000 is what's recommended. This will all change when we get bids back. If bids come in lower, then contingency generally comes down too. As you remember, I think from the last meeting, we had some two contractors give us a wide range of what the bid may be. So I think this will be a good test to actually figure out what this is. And City Council has the ability to consider that on August 18th, likely. So with that, I'll entertain any questions. But if approved tonight, then we will proceed with the timeline as we mentioned.
Realistically, how many companies do this kind of work?
Yeah, I think if we get at least 3 to 6.
Okay.
So we'll get at least, the two for sure I know will bid. They've indicated that they would, and then there's a few other in Minnesota that will do it. So hopefully we get 5. I mean, that would be ideal. That'd make me feel really good about, the bid range.
Like tower companies, or there are some out-of-state businesses that will also look at these plans and specs and might want to have an appetite for it.
So it could be a company out of Indiana or something like that. That was the tower company, I think, that did our tower.
Yeah.
So my only question and comment, not a question, comment, it's like, plans and specifications, you know what? I'm not an engineer. So even if I looked it over, I have to trust our engineers who are exceptional, that they did their due diligence and that they are correct but of course we have to authorize it to go out for bids. So, yeah.
That is correct. And you can see the rendering on the screen as well. That's David Abel's truck, I think, is in there. So he's going to move his office out there. I know he's listening in, but
He's listening.
So yeah, that's what we're looking for tonight. Then we can get some bids and we can evaluate them and make a decision in about 2 months.
Okay, that sounds great. All right, any other questions or comments? This has been in the works for a long time. So do I have a motion to approve plans and specifications and authorize advertisement for bids for our water treatment plant?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Refkin. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Govern. Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 4-0. I will mention, I forgot to do intros, but Peter Vickery, our one council member, is absent this evening, hence we have four votes. So next is approve our task order number 17 with St. Bonifacius Interconnect Analysis, and I'm going to hand this over to Jasper.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. I'm going to pivot a little bit on this. I got some feedback from City Council, some questions about the cost, and there's really a lot of variability potentially with this project. So, and what I mean by that is there's currently 3 locations that could have an interconnect meter. What the modeling piece, so I guess the study and report phase, that's the $14,700 part. That's to model our system as if our Kings Point water tower is empty. We obviously can't do that in real life because we can't empty the tower. But that's what that piece does. And what that study will tell us is if we need 1, 2, or 3 interconnect locations in order to supply our system with enough water to take that tower down. So there's that piece of it. Yes.
Don't we already have that from all of the studies for the water treatment plant with the new tower and how much our daily usage rate is if we take the tower down, since we were talking about painting it anyways?
No, we don't exactly know what's going on in St. Bonnie's system and how it'll interact with our system. So we don't know that, and that's what the modeling would do. We know everything, inside and out about our own system. Really what this would do is tie in St. Bonnie's system and the parameters and the amount of pressure coming from their system into ours if those interconnects are open.
But why do we need that?
So it's going to, I guess, right size the future potential project as far as how many interconnect meters we want to do in order to take that tower offline to do maintenance on it. So I guess
what it does, hold on just a second. What it does is it tells us how many interconnects we have to open. So do we have to open 1? Do we have to open 2? Do we have to open all 3 in order to supply the appropriate water to our system?
So it'll tell us that.
And Gary can.
And we also want to make sure that when those are open, that the capability of not only their tower, but their pumps are capable of of producing enough water to help us with this at that time. So that's the big thing. I mean, that we don't know, that's the big unknown. They don't have a lot of data on that. So that's what they're working with Bolton and Mink to try to get that data so we can figure out what actually, are their pumps capable of pumping? How much can they,
Not only
sustain
their-
for us?
But their water treatment plant, how much can?
Yeah, well, that's what it feeds the plant. So, and the tower itself. So, because we don't want to have it so that we open it up and all of a sudden, there's a major fire and all of a sudden we're draining the system down, so they can't fight the fire. So that's kind of one thing they look at for sure. The other thing is just in a normal usage, just to make sure that they're not draining that down to a point where we're getting down to low pressure systems and stuff like that. So you're at a boiling point. So.
But now, Gary, we wouldn't really need that. So we've opened up these valves in the past on a short-term interim.
On a short term, yes.
So that's okay. It's just that if we want to do the water tower rehabilitation at Kings Point earlier than when our new treatment plant is online, then we would have to know this.
Correct, because you're talking 2 to 3 months worth of downtime for that tower.
Downtime, okay. All right.
So, and the other thing, oh, sorry.
And we didn't get this when we did the first interconnect 2 years ago?
What's that?
We didn't get this information when we did the first interconnect 2 years ago?
Just put the meter in? No, we did not.
It's metered.
We just put the meter in. We still haven't gotten any as-built from them. I've never got an engineer's estimated cost. Looking at that, they did not, do it to what we had wanted. I mean, there's a lot of things wrong with that. I mean, it's there, it's working. But that's one of the problems. It was a kind of a, let's just throw it in as a change order, and they didn't do any of the prep work. So we don't, it's there. We know it works. It's just fine to have it open. But what happens if we open 2 or 3 of them, if we need to for a 3-month period of time, what's going to happen with the system? So 2 or 3 days, it doesn't matter. That's not an issue, but it could be for, especially 3 months when it gets to be the hot time of the year. So
How big is their tower?
that's only
300?
theirs? No, I think theirs is only, I think it's a 250 maybe. I don't think it's very big.
It looks bigger because you're right under it when you're driving by it.
Yeah.
So it's smaller than a north treatment?
I believe
north
so,
tower?
yes.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
What I was going to bring up, there's kind of a more global question about this whole initiative too, and I just want to get a little guidance on that as well. So the whole reason for this is the possibility to rehab the Kings Point Tower potentially about 2 years early. And from a policy perspective, City Council, I'd like to get your direction. If this amount of money, if we do all 3 interconnects, let's say all 3 new interconnects need to be done, we're looking at potentially about a $400,000 plus project. If we just do one, let's say the model comes back and there's just one, that's still a $150,000 project. Is that, if the 150, the best case scenario is too much, if that cost point is too much to, expedite that maintenance, which isn't required. We've done an inspection. It's not like it's imminently going to fail in the next 2 years or 3 years. But it's an aesthetic thing. It needs to get done either way. If the 150 is too much, then I think we just don't do anything. If the 400 is too much, but maybe 150 is okay, then I would say, let's do the modeling, figure out what we need, and then bring it back at a future city council meeting. So I guess first question is the $150,000 to $400,000 range to do this project potentially okay to expedite this? If the answer is no, then I guess we're not going to do anything with this.
So let's just say 400,000, I don't think is on the table. It's not worth it. Is 150,000 on the table? Is that a consideration?
Well, why is this interconnect so much more than what we did 2 years ago?
There's a bunch of different reasons. I can go over them for the group. So the one 2 years ago with St. Bonnie was a change order on an existing project. So they already had the whole area ripped up. It was a matter of just bringing in a structure and then a meter, and then doing some SCADA work in an existing, I believe they connected it to a panel at a lift station. So
At our flow station, we have an existing panel that they tapped into, where the new one will be have to have a whole new panel put in and all that, so.
So they have a new PLC panel, expensive. It's a standalone project. There's going to be pavement rehabilitation in two of them. One of them is in the right of way. So different projects, different scope. Ideally, we would just pick these off when there's projects in the area. But, from our discussion, there would seem to be some appetite to at least examine this from city council to see if we could get that tower painted a little bit sooner than 2028. So that's why we're here. And so the project is quite a bit more than the 44,000, I believe the St. Bonnie one was. And they didn't do any engineering, like Gary said, which is problematic from our side. There's no as-built. We don't really know how it works. So we would do it, I would say, the correct way. So it costs a little bit more on the engineering side too. So for each one, we're looking at probably about, $125,000 to $150,000 for each one potentially.
Each connection.
So it is expensive. Sorry if I wasn't clear that it was going to be that expensive when we started having these conversations, but at least we have the option. If we want to do it, we can. And if like the mayor said, if we're okay with 150,000, then I'd say we approve this with just the first item, the 14,700 to do the modeling. But if it's just completely off the table, then we don't do anything.
Would that modeling be accurate for like a number of years? So let's say we decided not to spend 150,000 now, but 5 years from now decided we want to do an interconnect. Would that still be valid, or is it just a short
Yeah,
term?
once they figured it out and they know the balancing point, towers aren't going to change and stuff like that. The only thing that would make a difference if St. Bonnie would, add something to their water treatment plant or something like that. But yeah, once it's done, it's done.
But we wouldn't necessarily need it
Need it with the
because
nuclear
we
well.
have, once we have the nuclear well, then we would have, so we wouldn't need it maybe until, 2050, somewhere down the
They
road.
will probably need it
Yeah,
before
they'll need
we.
it before we
Yeah,
will.
yeah.
How old is their tower?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that's
their
gonna-
treatment plant is,
Their treatment plant, they've had issues with it and stuff like that. So in the long run, I would think they would probably need our water before we would need theirs.
So if it's just off the table, that's fine. At least we looked at it.
Yeah, right.
And I can get that feedback and we'll just put
So
it on the back
basically
burner.
then we're waiting at least 2 more years, 2.5, to do the rehabilitation of the Kings Point Water Tower.
I've already been telling people it's going to get done when the treatment plant's done, so I'm okay continuing with that statement. As much as I don't like looking at it.
Well, I agree, because I don't know that we should be spending, 100, even 150,000 for something that's aesthetic. I did ask staff, I asked Jasper, I said, is there anything that would, that's needed that for function? I mean, is something going to deteriorate beyond the point of no return, so to speak? So if there isn't, if we don't have to do it for function, whatever, then then we should wait 2 years.
Well, and even if there is something for function that needs to be done, there is also the option of a watering ban. So, we don't have to use St. Bonnie's water. People can water less and we can take the tower offline. So if people really, really want it, then they need to sacrifice for it.
And in between
The other
time, we can interconnect when need be. When it's an emergency, so.
Yeah.
Can someone tell me how old that tower is again?
And Kings Point it
Well,
was the 90s.
was it no, the Kings Point Tower?
Yes.
Yes, 90s. I thought you were
93?
talking about the St. Bonnie Tower.
Was it 93, 94?
I'll tell you in a second. 94 sounds about right. Let me
Yeah.
look here.
So we're talking nearly 30 years. Or over 30 years.
Has there ever been examined, like talking about interconnects, like making a regional water authority between Minnetrista and St. Bonnie, or?
They talked about that
That's
before we
really-
put the plants in. That was the original plan to get
So-
St. Bonnie, Minnetrista, and Mound.
It was many, many years ago. Minnetrista did have conversations with St. Bonnie before we did anything, and it just wasn't an option. And we don't like talking about regional water authorities because, not to mention any names, but the Met Council has talked about that. And I always think local control over local issues is a better way to go.
Agreed.
But regional, we did talk with St. Bonnie years ago about collaboration and whatever sharing, and it just didn't work out. So, and we collaborate now. I mean,
1994 is all went in, and there was some documentation I did come across that I think originally when Hunter's Crest development was put in, that I think that the notion was that as it expanded, that St. Bonnie would be delivering more water than what is used there now. So I
right.
think that was the original, like the original plan for
Yeah,
it. So
right. Yeah. So there you go.
So what I'm hearing is there's no appetite to proceed. If we do have future projects in the area, we might have this conversation again.
Sure.
And so just so you're aware, I think it's probably best practices to have something there just because of the future potential partnership with water.
Right.
But it makes more sense to do it with a project.
What roads are they on?
What is
What
that?
roads?
Highland?
What roads?
there's one in Partridge, there's one on Spruce, and there's one on Highland and Wildwood.
All right. So, moving, so you can still say the same thing. 2 years. So now we'll move on to council reports. We'll start with staff. Any?
I don't have anything, but Ally said she has something for, no, she doesn't. Yeah, if you want, Ally's been she's been really helping out with the process, and we have some candidates selected and scheduled. So yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we got 25 applications for the position. We
Oh.
scored them, narrowed them down to interview 5, and those will happen. I sent the personnel committee some information. Those will happen on the 24th. So hopefully that'll get narrowed down to 2, maybe 3.
3? Yeah. Okay.
And then hopefully that'll be early July for approval.
Mhm.
Correct. Yeah, we're hopefully July 14th have something brought forward. Hopefully at the.
When would the council be interviewing?
That is the week of the
July
7th.
7th? Okay.
The week of July 7th, sometime in there. We'll schedule something. I think it works for everybody's schedule.
Sure.
We'll try to do it early in the week so it doesn't affect the weekend potentially.
No, later, because
Yeah,
fourth
later.
is,
Oh.
yeah, you don't want to do it the 7th
The
or
7th.
the 8th. Yeah,
Sure.
7th is not great.
yeah.
We'll send something out to
Mid-
really
midweek.
dial it in. But-
Okay, or late week.
Not the
Okay.
7th.
So then, yeah, hopefully by the 14th, we can have something to bring forward to council, and then they can give notice, and maybe it's 2 weeks or 30 days, one of the two, and
Sounds good.
somebody in here by mid-August.
All right. Sounds good. Any other reports? Do we need to report on our meeting on Wednesday?
Oh,
Do we
I mean, if you want to give an update, or I can give I can give a brief update
brief?
if you
Yeah.
want. Yeah. So we had our mediation on Thursday, and we were there for, I don't know,
8 hours?
7 or 8 hours. And so it was good. I think the outcome will be, or the direction from the mediator was that we'll likely see another IUP application and go through that process. And what was said was, put your best foot forward as far as addressing some of the concerns that were talked about at the public hearings. And then we'll give it a fair shake, have it go through the planning commission and potentially to the city council, and go from there.
We said we're not promising anything.
Yes.
So they're aware of that. So, all right. And then, let's see, any other staff reports? Okay, I'll start out. So yeah, we were in mediation on Wednesday, and we were there from 9 o'clock until 5 o'clock. So, fun day. Anyhow, I also attended the Northwest League meeting on Wednesday on I don't know, the 11th. Oh, we were in mediation on Thursday. On the 11th, I was at Northwest League, and we had Ann Finn from the League of Minnesota Cities there to give us an update on the legislature and the outcomes and so on. So, and then we did city updates, and yeah, interesting, just little tidbits from various cities, the projects that they're doing and so on. And then I know Kathleen and I and Jasper have been meeting regarding our fire partnership, ongoing discussions. We will not be meeting tomorrow as planned. That has been delayed until next month. So we'll be meeting next month. And So far, I think that's all we did, our city bus tour, and that was well attended. I think we had a full bus, and people really seemed to enjoy it. Everybody said it was fun and a great time, so that was good to hear. So we had a lot of newcomers, and also some people that have lived here for a while, so both. So good to, you participated.
Yeah, fun.
Okay,
I
good.
learned a lot.
I know, it is fun.
Yeah, so.
Drag next year.
Yeah.
And do the tour.
So that's all I have for now. And anybody else?
I do have one additional thing. I will just let know because it's about open meeting law and a change with remote participation.
Thank you. Yes.
So as of May 24th, all of you have the option to participate remotely in a meeting.
That's great.
There's a couple rules. There has to be at least one of you here, so you can't all go to wherever on vacation. But so there's got to be one person here. It doesn't have to be the mayor. It can be anybody else, but there's got to be one council
have
member.
to be me.
Yeah. We no longer have to notice where you're at. You no longer have to be in a public location. You can do it from your couch at your house.
Wow.
Nice.
The nuance is that you have to be visible on the screen. We have to be able to hear you, that's always been the case. And then we'd have to do a roll call after every vote. So if you were here during COVID, you're used to that. So you'd have to bring that back. So if it's something that you're interested in, I can help you get that set up on your computer to make sure that you can do it if you think you might have any struggles. But it is an option. We don't even have to put it on the agenda anymore. Like we don't have to say, yep, Claudia is going to be
I'm gonna
gone.
miss all of you.
But I will say, be here as often as possible, and we can set up, each city could set up a policy, if you will, as to how many times you should be absent, but I'm not saying that we need to do that, but I would strongly encourage you to be here. And this is why, and Kathleen can attest to this, and so can Ann McGregor. When we first started out with Kathleen and Ann coming on board, we had to do it remotely. It's horrible. And it takes a lot longer, and there's just not that that connection between council members as well as
Yeah,
staff.
people nodding their heads. Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of silence as well.
It's but if you're on vacation or you're not feeling great and you want to use this, I think it's a really good tool to have. So consider that if you're not, and I'm not saying you can't, you have to do this next time, but just sometimes when you're on vacation, you just want to be on vacation. I get that too, so don't worry about that. But it's another option that's a good option. Now, if we're done with that, just another thing that I'd like to throw out there that we just briefly talked about before is maybe changing our meetings to 6:30 rather than 7 o'clock, which would mean starting our work sessions at 5. But we wanted to see if that would be available to people and if you're interested in that.
I am interested in it.
Yeah, I am too.
Okay. And Peter's retired, so I'm going to just say he's in favor of it.
It's an ordinance update, so I'll try to get something on the agenda for the next meeting.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll still have a 7 o'clock council meeting in July. And if we do maybe the end of August or the second meeting in August, we could start implementing it.
Sure.
Okay, so we made a couple changes. If you remember, we moved our park commission meeting to the fourth Monday, right before our planning commission meeting. We're trying to be efficient here. So this will help efficiency. So with that, that's great. And otherwise, we don't have anything else on the agenda. We can sit here if you'd like. Otherwise, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Lacy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Refkin. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 4-0. Well, we didn't make it in 11 minutes, but 35.
Not bad, right? Or-